Hi, I'm Shannon, and recently I got rid of all my social media platforms aside from YouTube, and although I'm consumed far less than I used to be, I still feel like I'm spending hours every single day in front of a screen of some sort, whether that's from communicating, working, or some form of entertainment. And I had a tremendous urge to see what life would be like if I spent an entire 24 hours away from all screens aside from my camera. So I will be doing that. And to go along with that, I compiled a list of several things that I've been meaning to do for months, as well as things that I really want to do, but I feel like I never have time for. So it'll be interesting to see how much can I get done in 24 hours without these screens. And I'm also curious to see what my quality of life will be like away from them. If you're interested in seeing what my 24 hours away from a screen will be like, this is 24 hours away from all screens. So today has the potential to be the most productive day, and I really want to try to make it the most productive day, but I don't know exactly where to start. So I think I'm going to start doing what I do best, which is cooking. So one of my favorite things to do ever is make a soup out of the various ingredients left over from whatever grocery shopping trip was last. And all I do is mix some broth, water, veggies, some grains, and protein. So for instance, this sweet potato and this onion, I've had them on hand for weeks, but I didn't have enough to make a meal out of it. And same with this pasta, it's just not enough to serve on its own. So every time I do this, it's cool because I end up with a completely different soup that's always so delicious. You just throw in all these ingredients and completely random seasoning, and it tastes so good and it lasts so long, especially with this giant pot. So that is what I'm gonna do. So it's already been an hour. My soup is still cooking. I did the dishes, I cleaned up the kitchen. So I'm gonna keep track of everything I do today just so I can have a list at the end to see how productive I am, but I also have a to-do list to keep me on track. So I'm gonna keep referencing this as needed. But now I have to add dishes and clean the kitchen. No, counters. Counter. We moved in about 4 months ago, and we still have several things that need organized from moving in, like this pantry behind me. I have not done that since moving in. It looks like this, a complete disaster. So I think while my soup is finishing, I'm gonna work on the pantry. Of course, what I've been avoiding for 4 months only took me like 30 minutes. Okay, the soup is done, the pantry's done. Time to eat lunch. So I just had lunch on the patio, and I've had lunch on the patio several times without my phone, and it's awesome. But this time, for some reason, because I'm doing this experiment, when I finished lunch, I had the biggest sweet tooth ever, and I swear it's because I'm desperate for instant gratification that I know I can't reach to a screen at any moment, that I was suddenly wanting so desperately to have something sweet. So I'm having watermelon because I want to be healthy, but that was weird. I can't believe I'm unveiling my filth on the internet, but at least I can blame the puppy for the floor. But the rest of it is pure neglect. And part of me was saving it for this video, so we can just pretend that it never looks like this. Probably about 5:30. I pretty much can't tell yet because normally I'm not on my phone or on on my freaking computer or the TV. So that'll be interesting. So I've completely forgotten everything I knew on the keyboard, which is interesting because the screen is what taught me everything I knew in the first place, but it's also the reason I've completely forgotten. We never eat at the dining room table, so at first it actually felt kind of unusual, but towards the middle of it, it ended up feeling like a date, simply by removing the screen, and we ended up having a deep conversation that we definitely wouldn't have had if we were in front of the TV like we normally are. I have to say the morning was the hardest time without my phone. This is the time where I guess I got into the habit of looking at my phone right when I wake up again, even though I don't have social media platforms. And then when I'm drinking my coffee, I usually watch various videos. So instead I just read and journaled. Yesterday in general went by so fast. I was so productive. I did notice last night I had a bunch of dreams that I was scrolling on my phone. So something I noticed last night was I felt a little bit lonely, and it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't sadness at all. And it wasn't something I wanted to escape. It was just an observation because I think from the absence of the faces that I see throughout the day on my phone, which I didn't even realize. I consumed so much, but I could tell last night that I felt that emptiness from not seeing faces on my phone. So that loneliness was replaced with a feeling of liberation because I knew it wasn't actual loneliness, it was just simply being used to seeing faces on a screen for a good amount of the day. So it felt really good and freeing to remove that, and I just spent the rest of the night journaling and reflecting, and it just felt nice being present with my own thoughts rather than consuming some kind of media for the rest of the night. Actually, one last thing about last night. I spent so much of the time being productive, but there was a moment where I wanted to play keyboard and I couldn't even remember what I had learned on the keyboard because it had been so long since I played. So I forgot a song that I thought was embedded in my brain, and then I wanted to play a different song that I learned recently. I forgot half of it, and it sucked because I couldn't go on my phone to relearn it. So in that way I really missed being able to do that. But the thing is that if the phone comes first, something like keyboard and a keyboard tutorial will never follow. So I have to go for other forms of entertainment first and use the phone to my benefit for it to be worth it. I really did want to play keyboard last night, but it was cut short because I completely forgot everything I had learned thanks to these screens in the first place. I just really don't want my life to go by in a blur, and all I did was consume media when I really, really value experiences, and with that is learning new skills and even reading or even playing video games, which requires a screen. But that's at least me being present and doing something that I love, rather than watching somebody else. And I know it sounds kind of silly for me to complain about watching other people's lives go on my own YouTube channel, but It's true. We should be stepping away from the screen more and really stepping into our own lives. I noticed that yesterday I mostly focused on my productive things on my to-do list, which I found interesting for two reasons. One being that I felt like I couldn't do the things that I enjoy until everything is done, which is not the way to go because there will always be something that needs done. And the second thing I realized was how much productive stuff I accumulated on that list in the first place. For instance, my pantry. I had been meaning to do that for 4 months, and it only took about 20 minutes to do. And that just goes to show how much consuming media on screens can backtrack your life. Because for weeks I had been thinking that no matter how hard I try, I cannot catch up. If I were to clean my apartment, somehow by the end of the day, it would get messier than where it started. I am really happy how much I can do and be present in my life when I'm away from these screens, but I just need to figure out a balance between doing things that are productive and doing things that are leisurely. So today, for the rest of my time, I'm going to mostly focus on leisurely things. This is where screens come in handy because I cannot figure out what a mushroom looks like. All I can imagine is a cartoon version that resembles one from Mario. So yeah, sometimes it comes in handy. So I'm about a minute away from 24 hours without all screens, and it was amazing. This experiment taught me so much, and you know what? Even though I can technically look at a screen in 1 minute, I think I'm going to not look at any screens and go on a walk instead. I just want to be out in nature, and I definitely want to change my habits with consuming media in general. I want to spend less time on screens, more time doing things. So before this experiment, I thought I had a healthy relationship with my phone and screens in general, especially since I got rid of all my social media platforms. And now it is so clear how much media I consume throughout my day. Spending 24 hours away from it made it so clear that I will be on my phone if I'm getting ready for the day, if I'm cooking, if I am even working, sometimes in the shower, oftentimes when I'm eating. And it wasn't as obvious to me because I would be watching it on the TV. So it seemed more normal, but in reality, I'm just sitting there eating dinner with my boyfriend, watching YouTube videos that are seemingly endless, and that is often how we spend the remainder of our night. I just can't believe how much more I did in the last 24 hours and how much more fulfilling it was. And it really made me realize that I love doing things, and it's not necessarily being productive, it's just having experiences in general. As simple as cooking or as extravagant as traveling, that to me is so much better than being in front of a screen. It also made me realize that screens aren't fully the enemy. For instance, so many things that I love doing require screens, like playing keyboard. I rely on YouTube for tutorials to help me learn these things. Same goes for painting. I often use the internet for references because I can't visually remember certain things that I'm trying to paint. Also, I don't know how I would survive without Google Maps, and video games, of course, are in front of a screen, but that is more of an experience for sure. I plan on finding some kind of balance between being in front of a screen and living my own life, and I think I just need to spend less time watching other people's lives and more time living my own. And I definitely want to use other forms of entertainment before reaching for whatever screen, and if need be, then I will reach to the screen. For me, it helps to remove whatever it is that might be impacting my life completely, or go to an extreme before finding that balance, because if I didn't take away the screens for 24 hours, I would have no idea. I truly had no idea. And for that reason, I'm so thankful, because now I can see how much I was using it, and I can go forward in such a healthier way than I was using it before.